Pretty sure this is the most honest video you see on the comparison between Make.com, Zapier, and other platforms out there. So I have to take time to record this to ensure that you guys get to understand why I've been talking about using the right platform. Now, this is the thing. There are many people that have been, using affiliate links, and they are basically rooting for each of these automation platforms because they get to benefit from something there. But I believe that from someone that is not having any affiliate link, I'm not trying to sell you anything, and I just believe I'm just after you growing and using the right tool, and also understanding the reason why, aside from the fact that it's going to be good for their businesses, the reason why I figured that this is probably the most cost effective and affordable platform to use out there. So I have this put together once again, and I consider this day 23 of our series. What I do is I use the resource guide to guide you through the entire day, and we work on these things together. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure you're going to get something out of this video. So I just put all these things together to ensure that you see the differences between these platforms. So the first one we have here is Zapier. Now you need to understand how Zapier works. Though I'm not going to go into Zapier or probably going to make any tutorial about it. I'm not going to do all those. However, I'll just explain how this is and use Make.com as a very good example. So Zapier counts tasks. One task equals to one Zap run. I want you to know that a Zap run is like a scenario run. So a Zap run is whenever I run the entire scenario at once. That is, one task equals to, that's just basically it. One task is the whole scenario running. So you need to understand that even if, unlike Make.com, where you have operations where each one is one credit and one credit gets going off every single time, Make.com counts its credits by each module. However, when it comes to Zapier, you can add about 20, 30, or as long as you want for your scenario or for your automation generally. If as long as you want, you can have all this running and it's just going to take one Zap. So that's just the difference. And to a lot of people, that might look like a better plan and a better option. However, this is why that is not a better option. When we see the cost here, a monthly price for Zapier is basically a $20 per month, while the core for Make.com is just $9, right? So that's the price. You can see which one is more effective here, more affordable as well. By any business owner, I believe no matter the size, should even be able to use this for their online business or anything. And a freelancer should also be able to use this. So it's very affordable. When it comes to Zapier Starter, which is $20, right? It's $7.50 tax. Okay, that's good. Make.com's core, that's $9, takes about 10,000 operations. That means, you could have about 10,000 of this going, right? 10,000 modules running in total. For a 6-step workflow runs per month, this is $7.50, right? Let's just get that. This is how much you're going to take. The next month is going to start from scratch. You're not piling up any credits, right? That's how it works. However, for Make.com, you can see that for this same price, you could, for a 6-step workflow that runs in a month as well, you might only have to just exhaust about 1,667. And you're not even going to use up to 10,000 operations. So you can see that you could do more by even having 6 more of this entire workflow and keep running. So you could see how effective this is. Now, cost per 1,000 runs for this is this. This is the cost per 1,000 runs. This is cost per 750 runs, basically. However, the cost per 1,000 runs is just this. So you can see the difference. I intentionally put this down because I'm pretty sure a lot of my students as well have asked me why, I recommend Make.com every single time for them and also to offer to their clients. Aside from the fact that I've said N10, for example, to bring N10 into the picture is mainly developer first, and though you can have a lot of things and you can also self-host, there are a lot of people that don't know how to self-host. I believe I'm also going to work on that. I will probably make a tutorial on that as well. I keep having more things to make, new videos on, and well, you can keep them coming as well. So I'm going to make a video on N10. I have to take that down as fast as possible. So at complexity, Make.com is dramatically cheaper to run. And well, when it comes to a crossover, the only big thing that I've seen about Zapier that really, dawned to me that this is actually a very good app is because Zapier has a lot of apps connected to it. Zapier has, been the king for a long time. So they have a lot. I think Zapier probably had or has about 8,000 apps that is connected to. However, make.com doesn't have that. But I believe you could still use an HTTP module to work around most of these apps, especially if you just know that one thing, they have a REST API, they have a public API. I mean, when an app has a public API, it means you can get connected to it. So there's no issue, or if it has a token or anything. I'm going to also explain about APIs in the coming layer, so we're going to work on that. Now, where make.com really wins, I'm going to bring out is the virtual canvas. Though, I mean, we've been working on this for a while, but I mean, this looks good. This looks good. Zapier is a bit dull to me, if you ask me. Let me look for Zapier workflow example. I believe I've made a video about this once, but I figured I need to make a video about it again. So you can see how Zapier looks like. This is an example of a Zapier workflow. Let me bring a clearer one. Okay, so you can see this. You can see this. I mean, it looks okay. However, we could still settle with this, and I personally still settle with this. So it's a personal choice as well. When it comes to iterators and aggregators, these are native architectures for batch processing. While Zapier has, this looping by Zapier, well, but it's not a core architectural component rather. When it comes to error handling too, I discovered that this is something that is a plus on make.com, because while you can have various error handlers here, you can bring up from skip to retry to resume, and these are very nice. It saves you a lot of stress. You, the business owner or the freelancer, the developer, or whichever one, it saves you a lot of stress of having to come back here and start working around things every single time it breaks. But on Zapier doesn't have any error handler. They just send a notification to your email and tell you the whole zap, every single thing. You can assume you are working on this, every single thing is going to stop. So there's nothing to back it up. There's no graceful degradation where it will still work with something else. So basically you can see how this is. So I will still prefer make.com because I don't have to be on seats every single time and expecting something to break and jump into it before it's too late. I could just stick with make.com on that. When it comes to the HTTP module as well, any REST API endpoint, the API endpoint is why I literally told you that if you have any, though make.com has just over 3,000 apps right now, you could still connect more apps to it, despite the fact that it's not as much as Zapier. So, and you can get to control the headers, the authentication. I'll show you around this very soon. It's going to be a very interesting one, probably more interesting than the previous ones we've been working on. And Zapier basically has a webhook setup, but make.com's HTTP module has more configuration options. You'll see how you're able to still walk around make.com's HTTP module and still tweak a couple of things, unlike the way Zapier's own is. And when it comes to scaling, when it comes to the prices and every single thing, I would still say I prefer make.com's core, which is just $9, because it is at the same range. It is what a Zapier professional of $49 can actually do. You can see the difference. This is quite expensive, $49 compared to make.com's $9. And that is the only way it can come onto the level of make.com. So imagine having to almost triple this or go a bit over double before it can have as much operations and do as much workflows as this. So when it comes to make.com winning, well, when it comes to the price, I would say I prefer this. So execution log quality, and this is what that is. Let me bring that up here. Let's discharge execution log. So basically what you've worked on, probably incomplete executions, or you have anything at the back end. Do we have anything we've worked on here? No, but you're going to see a log. Let me just show you an example right from here. Is there anyone we've made a couple of issues on? So we have something like this. We do have one. Yes, we do have one here. And you can see this is something we could retry. And when it comes to the quality of handling a lot of data, especially those that you've missed or those that encountered problem, you could say that what make.com has a way to show every single log for every single bundle. Like I said here, every feed value, every module output as well. So debugging is very easy here. When it comes to using this, you're able to know what exactly had the issue. And you can see we tried this 3 times. Actually, I used these 3 attempts is based on the error handler I added there, which is supposed to try it or retry every single time for me. So these are the error handlers, basically, the ones attached to it. So I mean, you can see this. We should be able to even go in details and even see what happened, how it happened, and every single error behind it. You can see this. We can even go deep into it. So it's more like, like the analogy I gave, it's surgical. You could go deep into and see what happened, the error it brought out. So you don't miss anything, basically. You don't miss anything from this when you're using make.com. And why I also do that, I have to be very honest and tell you where exactly Zapier wins as well. So Zapier has a count of 6,000. I saw online that it's about 8,000 now, so I'll make that change. And I saw this make.com is about 3,000. So when it comes to native integrations, that means the existing apps inside Zapier. Zapier has more, unlike make.com having it's about 3,000 now. The 3,000, I'm going to count it for you. This is 1, Tally is 1, Google Forms is 2, Telegram bots is 3, Gmail is 4, Notion is 5. You can keep counting more apps like that. Could also get more here. Every single one here that you can find here is about 3,000 plus, which is a lot, but compared to what we have on Zapier, honestly, they still have a lot of work to do when it comes to that aspect. So for mainstream tools, both have access to every single one of them. But for niched tools, which means there are some apps or there are some services that probably are not the general services that we do have here, like Google, HubSpot, Stripe, Salesforce, or Notion, or the big companies out there. But when it comes to even smaller companies, they still have a bit. When it comes to simplicity for technical users, Zapier writes automation logic in plain English. So now I can still say now though, when you use make.com, it works up to that as well a little bit. Though, like I added here, make.com requires you understanding the modules, the bundles, to know the mapping panel and every single one of them, which is it will take you a little bit of time to understand how to work around all those. But for Zapier, I do remember a couple of years ago when I had to look into Zapier, and it was actually easy. It was easy to open, though I had to enter a class for that, but it was still easy to open, and everything was explanatory enough. When it comes to enterprise readiness, Zapier's team and company plans include better user management. True, because I have noticed also that when it comes to especially this especially the security and approval across the workflows, Zapier has been used by a lot of big organizations out there a couple of years ago. So it's something that they had to build their platform to work with bigger teams, to work with companies. And that is why Zapier has been equipped with a lot of things that matches them up more and referred more than make.com. Though lately, I will jump in by saying this, as at this year, 2026, or probably even last year, I could say anything has been taking that role and it has been competing heavily. And I think it has been competing easily when it comes to that as well. So Zapier's interface, a built-in form and internal app builder. Basically, you can have a built-in form and internal app builder. That means you can build an app within Zapier's interface. When I say you can build an app, it's just a couple of tools. You can put them together, and make.com doesn't have something up to that, though they are improving at a fast pace, because I'm even surprised make.com has tools now. Let me open that for you. Make.com has AI toolkits, agents, and many more right now that they are onboarding to their products. So I do believe that they are going to mature in very soon. And when it comes to brand recognition, yes, Zapier has been at the top for a couple of while now. So I would just recommend when you should actually opt in to use each. You can use make.com when your scenario has about 4 modules or complex branching, like what we have here. This is not even as complex enough. There are still more complex scenarios that you see out there. Or I don't think we have to build something complex. Because to be very honest, most clients or most businesses they don't require complex tools, to be very honest. A client can come to you and all you just need to build for them is. So when it comes to something like that, you could just go for make.com. And when you need batch processing, what I mean here is that when you need to take a lot of information like a list of leads and batch process them through a particular automation, I would say you should go for this because we have the iterator and the aggregator, right? So the next one that we do have is the error handling and the data integrity matter. So this opts in every single time, especially what we have here. If you do remember, let me just show you as example. Okay, let's just cancel this out. Let's discard changes. So if you do remember, I mentioned the fact that we have error handling modules on make.com. However, we don't have the same on Zapier. Zapier sends notifications for you to opt in and see what went wrong. So you have to debug this thing and have to work around this thing each time. However, let's see what we have here. We have our error handling directives, and if we're picking this, for example, you can see we get to even customize this to the amount of times we want it to try again. We can add probably 100. Well, not realistically. We could have this, the amount of minutes in between. But have this as 1. I mean, we want to relatively try it multiple times. So we could save this, and at the end of the day, we still have to do something as simple as this. Do we want to keep this data confidential? If we pick yes, I would say you might not be able to store this data somewhere. So you won't be able to troubleshoot when it comes to you having to process this very well. You won't be able to troubleshoot. And I believe that you have to still picking no. So when it comes to this, they are even asking you, how do you want this to be done? And I remember having to refer an option, one that looks like make.com, which was Keragon. When it comes to healthcare, the healthcare sector, you could go for Keragon because they follow what we call HIPAA compliance. And this is also the same for law firm. However, I've not still seen a law firm AI automation platform, but they do exist. I think I've heard one that does exist. However, when we have Keragon here, this is one I've recommended to a couple of clinics and health practitioners that have come to me probably via Upwork and also outside Upwork as well. So I mean, when it comes to this error handling and data integrity, I can say you should go for make.com. When it comes to API access beyond native integration, you should also use this. And if you are building professionally and delivering to clients like I do, you should use this. So when it comes to having volume, a bunch like the example I gave up there where I mentioned the fact that we could even have 6 of these for the same price when we just only have to make 1 for this. So you can see the difference. We could have a lot of details having to be processed and still be able to handle it. Now when it comes to Zapier, I would recommend Zapier only when the client or the business or the company already has a Zapier account, honestly. And not just when they have Zapier account, if they've built on it, I would recommend that and I would just opt in to work on that instead. So if the specific has an integration in Zapier and they don't have a public API, there are cases like this. I've seen a little bit of situations like this that we had to go for Zapier because of that, because they don't have a public API, but they've allowed Zapier to connect in. However, I believe in this age, there's no one really doing that anymore, because even with the rise of MCPs and the rest, a lot of companies are learning to come out and to allow other platforms to connect to their own platforms as well. They're already making this. And I feel like any company, any software company or services that do not have this in place might actually fall behind with those that will decide to, probably their competitors that might bring that up in their own software. So with the automation is just 2 or 3 steps and the client needs to manage it themselves. You can give it to them because the way it is, Zapier is very easy it's very easy for people to pick it up because of especially the visual, the languages and everything is just plain English. So it looks very easy for anyone to just pick up and walk around it. Make.com also is the same. I would say it's still the same. However, people just get to understand more on Zapier. I don't know why, than Make.com. Most non-technical people. So when it comes to enterprise security and compliance, yeah, sure. Like I said, Zapier have been able to build to the point where they are well trusted by organizations, and I do believe that they've built their team and they've built their services, their support, and every single thing to work with a lot of enterprises. So simplicity for non-technical stakeholders matter more than power. True. So when it comes to like what I said there, the non-technical businesses or users or subscribers on their platform, they'll rather go for this. And I will also say, yeah, sure, you should go for it. Now, where neither of them wins is if you're a technical person and you want to scale requirements. I would say this is where anything comes in. If you want to eliminate SaaS costs, this is where anything comes in, because you get it open source, you can self-host it and have unlimited operations rather than having to pay every single month. So if I'm building anything by the side in this age, I believe that I could just go for anything instead of Make.com. And this is something we are definitely going to see in the future. So yeah, I mean, you can still just you can expect it. And yeah. So when it comes to the pricing, I believe I've already explained around this, so I don't need to go further into it. However, this is just a comparison to show you that you have to pay for higher prices and still stay with Make.com on the same cost, which is just zero. I mean, you can see you have to pay for a starter on Zapier $20 and still use the same thing on Make.com's free plan. And you could see, I mean, we just ended this with Make.com's free plan still on $9, and you have to pay for a team to have that same amount of in. So you can see the difference. To be honest, I still prefer going for Make.com in this case. So for the third scenario, we could also see this here. I mean, these scenarios that I've been using it based on what we've built. So this digital receptionist that I have here, let's leave and discard. The digital receptionist I have here, if you check it out, with everything that we have in place, we could do this with Make.com with the same price. But if we want to do it on Zapier, you can see how much this costs. And the same thing when it comes to this too. If we have about 3,000, just based on the amount of runs that you have in a month, you can see that we still will probably prefer Make.com rather than Zapier. And where I'm going to mention anything is that the fact that anything is open sourced and you can build this on your own. I believe everyone wants the way to install open source everyone wants to self-host anything. So I believe this is something I'm going to make a video on as well. And I'm going to do this because I believe that this is going to be cost effective for us. And the trade-off is, though more technical to set up and maintain, because I remember I do have to always install the newest version every single time, or else my workflows will probably be lagging behind and that kind of stuff. So when it comes to that, it looks like technical, but to be very honest, it's not actually technical, but it looked technical my first time of self-hosting my anything. So however, if it comes to you using this to cut off costs, you don't want to pay even the $9 on Make.com, I will say, yeah, you should go for this. You are free to go for anything at that time. So what I tell my clients basically, and this is the best option. I'm literally telling you what I tell them every single time, because I believe that if I want to work with if I want to work with clients or companies like this, including even agency owners that are still working around understanding automations and the like, I just tell them why they ask me on Make. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will ask me after this video again why I prefer Make.com. So I would just rather tell you now. I prefer Make.com because it handles complex multi-step workflows more cost effectively at any volume we're working with. And the visual canvas makes it easy to audit and maintain. And the error handling means your data is preserved if something even breaks. And this is what Zapier doesn't even have. So, but if you already have a Zapier account, I'm comfortable with using both in any case. For a simple addition to your existing Zapier setup, we can stay there. But if we have anything that we need to to build to be that has more than 4 steps, or it has a batch processing in this case, I would go for telling them that make.com is going to cost them less and it's going to also be scalable as well. So with this, they can what? They can go for make.com still while having Zapier. It looks like a lot, but I'll be very honest. If this person doesn't want to rebuild their entire automation on make.com instead, well, I could let the person stay there and still use make.com rather than having them to pay for an higher plan. For a plan like a 49, I'll just tell them to pay a $9 for make.com and I'm going to build something else differently there. Though they have two this time around, but we are still able to manage this across. However, still, I would still tell them, why not we just go for make.com at the end of the day. And yeah, that's basically what I have for today. If you enjoyed this video across the others, you have any question or you need to understand any other thing, I am in. You can drop a comment, just ask me anything. I'm basically open every single time. And there's a reason why all these videos I've been uploading all this while. I am not asking for emails, I'm not asking for anything. It's because my main purpose in making all these videos is to just push out the knowledge about AI. And I've seen the hype online about AI. I've seen that a lot of people, they just bank on the fact that a lot of people don't understand how to work around this and they waste a lot of people's time. So I decided to bring this series out, which is the 60 days of handling the 5 layers of AI, where I believe that you are going to learn every single thing to the current state of how AI works. So, well, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.